What's up, Wolfpack fans? Happy game day. Happy senior day. Time for the latest edition of Ramey's Pregame Pod. In this one, we'll visit with Jesse Kurtz, who, of course, is the voice of the Mountain West Network, but is also a longtime contributor, member of the Air Force radio broadcast crew. He is the analyst, along with play-by-play voice Jim Arthur. And we talked to Jesse about how the Falcons have had a tough year, but have kind of turned the corner here, coming down the stretch just in time for this game at Nevada. And of course, we visit with Mountain West insider Terrence Newman. We talk about what's important for Nevada coming down the stretch in year one under Jeff Choate. First up, here's Jesse Kurtz. Jesse Kurtz, what year is this for you on the Falcons broadcast team?
Year 13.
Whoa.
Yeah, year 13, game 11.
Okay, so let's maybe this happens to other folks. Maybe this happens to you and Jim Arthur. This is obviously a success of the Academy's culture, but it's a bit of failure of journalism on my part. I'm trying to think about players the Academy has lost versus who's new this year and why that would make a difference in the season that you guys have had. But in my mind, it's all kind of just Falcons come off the assembly line. And it almost doesn't matter the position, let alone the year, because it's Troy Calhoun and it's the triple option and it's Air Force. So why has this been a down year and how have the Falcons found their stride now?
Well, the short answer, and a lot of times it's coach speak, which I don't necessarily always love, but I think in this case, it certainly is applicable and it is true that it is a young and very inexperienced team. 42 players have made their first start this year. That leads the country almost by double. I mean, for a long time, they were doubling that of the second place team in that category. There were so many places that not only needed to be filled with a starter, but also a backup. This is a team last year lost all three quarterbacks, starter, backup, third string, all gone. Lost your starting tailback, lost your starting fullback, lost 10 offensive linemen. So there were so many places that you not only had to find new guys, but new guys that had never played Division I college football. I mean, very little. So it took a long time, man. I mean, there were bumps against San Jose State. There were significant bumps at Baylor. Wyoming was tough. Navy came into Falcon Stadium with seniors and absolutely ran by us. Started to turn the corner at New Mexico. These young players kind of started getting a feel of college football, scored 37 points. Colorado State nearly pulled off an upset win in the fourth quarter. Played Army very well, just couldn't match with their experience. And then Fresno State and Oregon State, it's back to what Troy Calhoun called in his press conference and his coach's show, vintage Air Force football.
Vintage Air Force football. And of course, Nevada's had a bye since the Boise State narrow loss. And I think in all my years covering Nevada, this is the first time they've had a bye to get ready for the triple option, because it always seems to come at a terrible time. And I thought, and I actually said to head coach Jeff Choate, I said, well, you get a bye, but Air Force has totally hit their stride now. And has it been the move to Quentin Hayes at quarterback that is kind of catalyze this? Is it broader than that? And just take us through the evolution of the quarterback position this year.
Yeah. So Quentin Hayes in the last, let's call it 4 weeks, has really turned the corner and it has seized the starting job in a major way. To start the year, the Falcons went with John Boucher, who was the only quarterback who had seen any time. He played a decent amount of time at Boise State in the season finale, but Quentin Hayes, Josh Johnson had not seen the field. Quentin Hayes was the backup. John Boucher was relatively ineffective in leading victories. At times he looked good, throws the ball pretty well, just couldn't lead the offense. So they made the change to Quentin Hayes and about midseason, and he was really, really good at New Mexico. He kind of was the guy that ignited this offense that finally started scoring points. I mean, you're talking about an offense, John, that in 3 games through the first, I believe, 5 scored less than 10 points. And at New Mexico, you score 37 points. You say, well, geez, we're starting to really make some strides here. He got hurt, did not play in the following game. but has been a difference maker at the quarterback position here lately. And he really was good last week against Oregon State. He was perfect through the air, 5 of 5 for 110 yards, ran for another 84 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. Just a sophomore. I think they really like what they have in this kid now, and he has taken this starting job and run with it, so to speak, pun intended.
Yeah, no, we'll take the pun. And Dylan Carson, is he the primary focus of
Yeah.
the running game, or is it just because he's the fullback he touches the ball the most?
No coincidence that the last two games that Air Force has played at a very high level and come away with wins against Fresno State and Oregon State with Dylan Carson being healthy. Dylan Carson was the one known commodity on offense for this team after last year. He was a really good fullback, a backup to Emmanuel Michel, who rushed for over 1,000 yards. But you could see Dylan Carson last year as a sophomore was something special. Got hurt in the opener against Merrimack in the first half, didn't play a couple of games, came back, brace on, certainly not 100%. He finally was 100% probably at Army, and then really started reaping the benefits of the rest and the rehab that he got. And against Fresno State, went over 100 yards. Last week, 97 yards. He's a tough tackle. He's a tough runner. If you guys remember a couple of years ago, a guy named Brad Roberts, who was the player of the year in the Mountain West, I said last year, coincidentally, Dylan Carson wore number 20 last year, which was Brad Roberts' number. I said, this guy runs like Brad Roberts. He was just a sophomore, but we're starting to see that again. And with Dylan Carson healthy, he takes a big load off of Quentin Hayes. And if they can run between the tackles behind Dylan Carson, the offense really goes.
All right, let's talk about the defense because, I got all caught up in the 1-7 start and the change of quarterback. But I don't know if it's quietly, I don't know if it's under the radar, but Falcons have the best overall defense in the Mountain West, best pass defense in the Mountain West. That's no surprise, right? That's kind of what happens on defense for Air Force.
Yeah, I mean, it's a defense that over the last 4 or 5 years has been top 10 in the country, led the nation in defense a couple of years ago. It's been the cornerstone of the success of this current run for Air Force football, which over the last 4 full seasons, take this one out of the equation, dating back to 2019, won 40 games. I mean, and they did it with defense. Now, did they have really good defensive players? Of course. 3 guys off of those defenses are now in the NFL, which is saying something for Air Force. Jordan Jackson on the defensive line for the Denver Broncos. Bo Richter right now as a linebacker and an edge rusher for the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Thorpe Award winner, Trey Taylor, who's now with the Oakland Raiders. So they had good players. But the secret sauce for the defense is limiting the amount of plays that they're out on the field. And so when the offense is controlling the clock, held the ball for 45 plus minutes against Fresno State, 41 and change against Oregon State, those defensive players can be fresh. They got time to regroup. They got time to talk to assistant coaches, look upstairs, look at video. So they're fresh. And when they are very, very capable. When Air Force gets into an issue, right, it's when they're on the field too often. So the complementary football has led to this defense being really good here in the back half of the season.
Yeah, you mentioned time of possession. That's a huge point of emphasis for Jeff Choate and the Wolfpack, especially with how their roster is constructed this year on the offensive side. They've been leading the conference in time of possession, but Falcons have overtaken them. So that's kind of, it's like, yep, right when Air Force starts get going, it's, oh yeah, they're holding the ball. They're doing what they want.
Yeah, and it's funny that last week, Oregon State came in. They led the nation in time of possession, and the Falcons held them to holding the ball for about 18 minutes. So it's funny that these two games back-to-back are two of the teams that want to mirror what Air Force does in hogging the football on offense.
Yeah, so I guess this might be a quick game, right? Don't blink, you might miss it.
You know what? It is one of the true pleasures of Air Force football. You know, we have games that go 2 hours and 50 minutes. We don't have to get into these 4-hour, drag them out like, oh my goodness, we're quick. Like we come at you, and we make quick work of the clock, quick work of the game, and at the end of the day, you hope you come out on top. But we do know these games don't go over 3 hours and 10 minutes, and they might be under 3.
He's Jesse Kurtz from the Mountain West Network and the analyst on the Air Force Football Radio broadcast team. He's a scholar and a gentleman, as always, to join us. Now, Terrence Newman, Mountain West Insider, returns to Ramey's pregame pod. Terrence and I talk about the critical 2 games remaining in the season for Nevada. No, it's not about the postseason, but it's about momentum, perception, and the trajectory of the launch under Jeff Choate. You know, everybody talks about senior night, and anybody who's ever listened to me, Terrence, I have a stock line about senior night. Coaches talk about how it's challenging for the players with their families and that memory. There's an emotional kind of apex before the game even begins that is unlike anything else. But I don't know if I suppose coaches have had senior nights as players, but I don't know. I guess I've talked to Mike about it, but you would have had a senior night as a player in high school. Shout out Foothill Tustin. Do you recall the emotional, the emotional kind of memory?
Yeah. See, it's different. It's special, just especially for these guys. Because let's be honest, most of these guys, this is probably gonna be, they have only a few times left to put on pads and actually play a real game and hit someone. It's not like basketball where you can go play overseas if you don't make it to the NBA. If you don't make it to the NFL, that's it. You really don't get to hit anybody anymore after that. In high school, it was crazy. I knew I was going to play a little bit in college. So it was a little different for me, but for a lot of those guys, for most of those guys in that room, they knew that, it was going to be the last time they got to play a game that they loved. So the emotion of that is just, it kind of hits you. It's in the back of your mind, but like as you get closer to kickoff, it kind of starts to kind of hit you all at once. So being able to overcome those emotions, being able to channel those emotions and into the right kind of energy could make it a very special night, hopefully, for these kids.
So with this last home game against Air Force, and then the following week at UNLV for the Fremont Cannon, which is a season unto itself, I think maybe because Nevada's out of bowl contention, there's no postseason kind of aspirations at this point. I'm sensing maybe some of the fan base has moved on. Basketball has started well, and there's kind of there may be a tendency within the larger Wolfpack community to be kind of transitioning to the winner. But, the results of these last 2 games could radically alter the trajectory and maybe more importantly, the perception of year 1 of Jeff Choate. And so I find these 2 games, and in particular this home game against Air Force, which is a winnable game for the Pack, to be excruciatingly important.
Oh, yeah. Especially in terms of perception. This game, look, you lose the Air Force, you're looking at no wins in conference and dead last place. You win this game, you get your conference win, and you're not in last place in the conference. You're tied for last, but you're not in last by yourself. It's a different perception. Also, the way they've played this year, they've been competitive in most every game except for a few. Minnesota, who knows what happened at Hawaii. But
no Brendan Lewis at the Hawaii game, in fairness.
Yeah. There were some guys missing at that one. But yeah, this is a game that they should come out very excited on an emotional night and just take it to them just right off the bat. Don't, as we've said on this show before, don't play with your food. Because Air Force is coming in a little with some confidence, a little swagger. They had a very commanding win against Oregon State last week. I think that's a little fool's gold. Oregon State is there's something not right going in that program right now. That's a program that, John, they're going to have a losing record against Mountain West teams this year.
Air Force shut them out.
Air Force shut them out. Like, I don't think they expected this. So there's something really, really kind of rotten in that program right now. But nonetheless, the kids from Air Force can be coming in here riding a little bit of a high, so it's important that Nevada comes out and takes it to them right off the bat. Because I think this win could definitely change the trajectory of this team going into the offseason and going into next year. Because there's no reason why this can't be a middle of the conference to top half of the conference team next season.
Oh, let's get into that, Terrence. Have you looked at the roster? Have you looked at who's eligible, who's coming back? I think you might have.
I've looked at the roster. I have. It's senior night, and it's about those guys. But we also want to look ahead and think about what we got coming back. Now, in the world of college football today, this is all speculative.
It sure is.
They on paper they could be coming back, but that also could depend on the paper if they come back. But guys that are eligible to come back on offense, I mean, you got Brandon Lewis at quarterback, who I think has made great strides this year. And if you can continue that kind of improvement, could be a potential all Mountain West type player next season. Savion Red at running back. Marcus Bellin coming back at wide receiver. You're going to lose, though, a lot of production at wide receiver.
Braham and Smith are both gone.
Yeah. You got some young guys. Burleson's shown flashes in the little bit of time he's gotten, but that's a position you're probably going to have to look at kind of hard in the portal. Like I said, Bellin's a really great slot receiver, but you're going to need a couple of bigger guys on the outside to go along with him. And maybe there's a lot of tight ends on the roster, but not a whole lot of production from any of those tight ends. So we'll see. We'll see if maybe there's a diamond in the rough on the roster already. Up front, you got a lot of guys coming back.
That's huge. That's huge.
And speaking of huge, big Isaiah World. Man in the left tackle.
I worry about him, Terrence. That's a guy I'm worried about. A program.
There could be a bag out there for him.
Yeah, a bag. That's right. But we love Isaiah. He's a favorite of the broadcast, so we hope to see him in the silver and blue.
Yeah, he's a key at left
because he's real.
That's a man right there. If you can get him coming back, I think you're bringing back 4 of the 5 starting linemen. Defense is going to need a little bit of a overhaul. Probably one of the brighter spots on the team this year. The defensive backfield is going to lose, I believe, 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah,
a lot of playing time, a lot of production is going to have to be replaced there, and you're going to have to really upgrade on the defensive line. They're going to have to get some guys that can rush the passer. They're going to lose their top sack getter this year. He's a senior. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. I'm going to let you do
Henry
it.
Ika Hihifo.
Ika Hihifo. There we go.
Ika Hihifo.
See, that's why I let you
Paraclete High School, Lancaster. North LA County here, Terrence.
Yeah, so he's one of our seniors that's going to be having his last home game tonight. So we're going to have to find a way to replace his production and also get some more guys to go along with it. And then also with the style of play that Nevada wants to play, we're going to have to find some more running back depth. Savion Red coming back is good, but this is a team that for them to fire on all cylinders, they're going to need like 3 running backs that they can really count on to
playmakers.
They're going to need some more playmakers. But you have, I think, what is the foundation with a lot of O-line coming back, solid quarterback play, starting running back. There's a lot to build on here.
All right, Air Force, 1-7 to start the year, but back-to-back wins, as we mentioned, including a shutout win over Oregon State last week. And they run the triple option on offense. And Terrence, it's just such a pain to play against the triple option. I just look at the cut blocks at the line every snap. It just looks like it would become increasingly frustrating to defend as the game goes along. And of course, that's what Air Force is counting on.
That's part of the design. Yeah.
Yeah, like just what are your I mean, you're a big football philosophy guy. You and I like to talk about offensive kind of concepts and philosophy generally. It is brilliant in one regard, the offense that the Falcons run.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Because they are aware that they are at a disadvantage when it comes to the type of athlete they can recruit to their school. So they have to play a style that that is beneficial to them, and it is a pester to play against. In high school, my high school's crosstown rival, Tustin High, they ran a wing tee offense, which
is that Deshaun Foster's?
That's Deshaun Foster, the same high school he went to. Yes, and yeah, so it's a very couple other Matt McCoy, who played at San Diego State, also played at Tustin High, and Frosty Rucker.
Oh, Frosty!
Yeah,
fight on.
Yeah. So yeah,
sorry, wing T, but it's one of those old school systems.
But it's one of those old school systems, and you have to worry about gap management. So everybody on the defensive line, all the linebackers, they have to make sure that they play their gaps, don't over pursue, because when you over pursue, that's when those cutback lanes happen, and that's when they start breaking off runs for 50, 60 yards. So just, gap integrity and making sure that your defensive front keeps that. But then also, it's so hard for the defensive backs, the safeties, when you're just getting hit with a run after run after run after run after dive after dive to just not get sucked up for when that play action pass comes. Because it's going to come. There's not going to be many of them. But the way the offense is designed, it's so few passes, but the passes that they do throw are so effective because you get guys so wide open because the DBs have just gotten so used to just crashing forward play after play. So, yeah, it's a nuisance to play against. It really is.
I've got a stat for you on that. Air Force has the worst passing offense in the Mountain West. They average fewer than 95 yards per game through the air. However, they have the Mountain West's most yards per completion at nearly 16. Because when they do throw the ball,
it's big plays. Yes, they've sucked the defense up to the line of scrimmage so much that when they do throw the ball, it's big plays over the top, big chunk plays, which just breaks a defense. And so that's why playing against an offense like that is so frustrating, so annoying, especially because you've wasted so much energy hitting these guys up front in the line, and you've been doing a great job of stopping the run, and then all of a sudden they get a 25-yard, 30-yard bomb over the top. It's just so deflating to a defense.
All right, so the Pack and Air Force tonight, senior night, final home game. And then next week, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, to close out the regular year, and the battle for the Fremont Cannon from Las Vegas. You will have your own Newman team on the pregame pod coming up next week. But we should point out that Terrence will be on the sidelines for the broadcast this week at Mackey against Air Force. He'll be pinch hitting for Alex Margulies. Alex, of course, is in South Carolina with the basketball team, filling in for me. So Terrence makes his second appearance as sideline reporter at Mackey this season. And Mike Edwards, the Hall of Famer, Terrence, and I will get started at 6:30 Pacific, 7:30 Pacific kickoff, 105.7 FM, KOZZ in Northern Nevada, the Varsity Network, of course, online, anywhere you can get the internet. Terrence, it's going to possibly be raining or snowing, so I'm encouraging you to bring, you have a Nevada zip-up kind of all-weather jacket, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I think I'm going to have to...
layer up.
I think I'm going to have to add a Nevada beanie.
Yeah,
to my payment for this week.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do on that. Definitely.
But yeah, no, I got my hoodie ready.
Okay, good. Any final thoughts as you return to the sidelines? I know that you were very intrepid in your sideline coverage against Eastern Washington.
You know what? It was just kind of feeling my way into it. This time, I kind of feel like I'll have a good lay of the land. I feel like I'll be a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, no, I'm excited to get back out there and feel that energy from the sideline. Looking forward to a really good game. And yeah, go Pack, go senior night. It is kind of like these last two games are kind of like little seasons unto themselves. Like this is the game. You got to get this, get that conference win that final home game, and then the following week, who knows?
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. UNLV still has a chance to make it to the Mountain West Championship game, depending on what Colorado State does.
Fresno State, concurrent with the start of the Nevada game, 7:30 Pacific tonight, November 23rd, and then a Friday game. Colorado State hosts Utah State the day before Nevada plays at UNLV.
Yeah, so Colorado State still has some work to do to clinch up a spot in the Mountain West Championship game. So that UNLV game could be very important for UNLV. They could have a lot to play for. And, what a beautiful way it would be for the Pack to end their season.
Wouldn't it?
To just ruin UNLV's chances at a conference championship game. So, I don't know. Record-wise, there's not a whole lot to play for, but there's still a lot to play for this year.
He is Mountain West insider Terrence Newman. Thanks to Terrence. Thanks to Jesse Kurtz. We look forward to visiting with all of you at Mackey Stadium. 7:30 kickoff tonight, 7:30 Reno time. Mike Edwards, the Hall of Famer, and I start at 6:30 on the Bud Light Tailgate Show. Terrence Newman will be pinch hitting on the sidelines for Alex Margulies, who's with the basketball team. So it's Terrence, Mike, and me. You can listen on 105.7 KOZZ here in Northern Nevada. You can listen on the internet, thevarsitynetwork.com or the Varsity Network app. That is free. And, of course, you can watch on the Facebook live feed behind the mic cam. You can watch Mike and me with all our silent fist pumps. That is on the official Nevada Wolfpack Facebook page. So however you take in the broadcast, we look forward to visiting with you. Kickoff at 7:30 tonight. See you then. Peace.